Hello, my name is Nicole LeBlanc, and I like to share crafty videos here on YouTube. Thank you so much for stopping by. So today we are going to be mass producing a bunch of cards using the same basic card design shown here, but yet we're still going to make sure that all of our cards are unique in some way. So if you're looking for ways or tips on mass producing cards yet still letting your cards be unique, then this is the video for you. As always, I just want to remind you that if you're looking for more information on this project, please check out the description box below. There you'll find a link to my website where you can find a coordinating blog post with product information, more pictures, and just more details about this project. So for the first step in the project today, I'm going to start by stamping out some card panels. So the stamp set here that I'm using today is from Concord and Ninth, and it's called Floral Print Silhouette Stamp Set. And this stamp set contains a bunch of circular floral images. In fact, there's three of them. And when they layer together, you get a beautiful floral circular image. So for the darkest kind of shadow layer of this image that I'm stamping here today, I'm going to stamp that using some soft navy ink from Simon Says Stamp. And you can see here on the right, I've already picked out my colors for the other layers as well. I decided to go with this coral reef ink and some really fun jelly bean green ink as well. So just while I'm stamping away, I wanted to note sort of my first tip when it comes to mass producing cards. For this particular project today, because I'm doing stamping, I wanted to point out the tip of using a stamp positioning tool such as the MISTI. As you can see here, the MISTI lets me only have to worry about lining up these images once, which is sort of the most time consuming part about stamping. And then once you've gone ahead and positioned that perfectly in your MISTI tool, you can go ahead and stamp out all those other layers exactly the same and very efficiently, very quickly. So that's the first tip here for mass producing cards. Get yourself a stamp positioner that you like. There's other stamp positioners on the market as well. It doesn't have to be a MISTI, but certainly using a stamp positioning tool like this will help you save some time if you do enjoy mass producing a bunch of cards at once. You can see there how quick and easy it is for me just to slide out my card panel, pull in my next piece of cardstock, and move on to another card panel. Very quick, very easy, very efficient, and it yields excellent results. And I do want to just take a moment here as well, just while we're finishing up the stamping, to say that if you have any tips that you want to share with other visitors here to the channel, please leave them in the comments below. It's always fun to learn different tips that card makers have for mass producing cards. Or if you have any tips on how you like to make each card unique, if you like to make different cards as well, but still do a little bit of mass producing, feel free to put that in the comments below so that we can all learn from each other. So now that the stamping here is pretty much finished on my card panels, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next step of the card. So now I'm going to start preparing some sentiments. So for my sentiments today, I've decided that I want to use a combination of both that hello die and the hello stamps shown here. So this stamp set is just called Hello Stamp and Cut. It's from Hero Arts, and I like that it's pretty small because it does have a very good price point on this as well. So off screen, I've just gone ahead and ran the hello die through my die cutting machine to cut out some heavy white cardstock. And I'm just using a paper piercing tool to poke through the holes on the back of the die to release my paper from the metal die. And then off screen here, you can see I've already die cut a bunch of these hellos. So that would be my next tip if you're mass producing and you have a step such as die cutting. It's always quick if you do all your die cutting together. That'll help that process go a little bit smoother. So in case you're wondering why I needed so many hellos here today, I do like to stack up my sentiments just to give them a little bit of dimension on the cards. And I find that when I want dimension on dies such as these that are very intricate, that the easiest way to do that is by die cutting multiple layers from cardstock and then adhering them together using some liquid glue. Liquid glue also just gives you that little bit of wiggle room here to make sure that you have your dies perfectly lined up before that die or before that glue dries in place. So once I'm happy with the placement of my die, I'm just going to pinch the two layers of paper together, put that on my work surface, and leave an acrylic block on top for that to dry. And then I'll move on to the next step of the project. So next up in the project here, I'm going to prepare all of my sentiment strips. So for my sentiments today, I have decided to use the sentiments from this Hero Arts stamp set as well. And so I'm going to go ahead, as always, use my Misty tool also. So you can see here that I've already placed in a scrap piece of some soft navy cardstock from Simon Says Stamp to coordinate with that ink that you saw earlier. And I'm just going to go ahead and line up these sentiments as straight as I can. So with this tip here, I would say um, it's helpful, number one, to use a MISTI so you can stamp multiple images at once. And then my second tip would be to go ahead and put in multiple stamps at once on the door of that MISTI to save you time stamping as well if you are doing a bunch of cards at one time. So for the sentiments today, I did decide that I wanted to go ahead and heat emboss some of them. So you can see here that I'm going to start by heat embossing these sentiments in white using some alabaster embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. And then off screen, I will also be embossing some more sentiments exactly the same as, the process shown here, but just using some gold embossing powder from Hero Arts. And then as well, I also stamped out a bunch of sentiments using that navy ink that we saw earlier from Simon Says Stamp on just some white cardstock. So once you have your stamps positioned in your MISTI tool, it's very easy to, do all your stamping of all your sentiments at once. That's another tip for, you know, for mass producing cards when you're doing card making. So I'm just going to go ahead and warm this embossing powder with my heat gun here until it melts, and then I will be ready to move on to the next step in my project. So carrying on with these sentiment strips here that I just prepared, my next step here is going to be to trim those out. So you can see here that I just go ahead and trim those out one by one using my guillotine paper trimmer. So this is why I took the time to line those up so carefully in my MISTI tool, so it would be nice and easy for me to go ahead and trim those all out at once. So now that all my sentiments are prepared, I'm going to circle back to my card panels and start trimming these down. So for most of my card panels today, I decided to use these A2 layering dies from Waffle Flower. And I wanted to note that one of the ways that you can make your different card projects unique as well is by choosing different layering dies for your different card panels. So you'll see later on in the finished photos that some of them I chose, larger or smaller rectangles, varying the navy outline on my cards to make each card unique and a little bit different. So I've already gone ahead and stuck down some foam tape on the back of my card panel, and I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that card panel to the card base. This card base is also using that Simon Says Stamp soft navy cardstock. And I'm going to use some liquid glue to stick down my stack of Hello die cuts and squish that down just using an acrylic block. And then I'm also going to add one of those sentiment strips to this card. I've already put a piece of foam tape on the back of my sentiment strip, so it's ready to stick here on in place. And to ensure that I have perfect placement, I'm going to pull out my clear T-square ruler, line up that sentiment strip before I adhere that onto my project. So this card is pretty much done here at this point. I'm just going to take a clear glitter brush marker, add some sparkle and shine to the hello on here, and then I can take my Teflon bone folder, fold up my card, and it's pretty much done. So this is the basic card design that I wanted to use to sort of use as a template for the different cards that you'll see here in a moment. So the first way that I changed up this card was by adding some specialty cardstock. So here you can see that off screen, I went ahead and die cut another hello using some gold foil cardstock. And I'm just going to layer that on top of the hello that I had already prepared using the white cardstock. And here on this final image, you can see how different of a look you get when you add in that gold hello with the gold embossing here on the sentiment strip as well. Just makes it really shiny and I think it classes it up a little. This next card image here, I added some holographic cardstock instead for my hello and around my sentiment strip. That it's really fun, adds a beautiful shine. This next card project, I trimmed down and made a 4 1/4 square card. So there's another way you can change them up simply by changing the shape of the card as well. Makes the card look pretty different. This next one is fun because I went ahead and used a circle to die cut the floral image, pop that up on some foam tape, and then adhere that to a card panel that I ran through my embossing machine with an embossing folder. Give that next nice chevron texture. And then this last project is probably my favorite. I used a Stitches background die from Pink Fresh Studio to add that beautiful texture to the white card panel on this final project. Thank you so much for checking out my card video today. I've posted some previous card making videos here on the screen that may interest you and give you some more crafty inspiration. And until next time, I just want to say I hope you are keeping it crafty. Bye.